Right, hi guys, and welcome back to the Crawl Corner. We're here once again in this wonderful ranty corner for all things Formula E. So, round number 2 at Portland has come to a close in the US of A, and that all got a bit spicy, didn't it? There was that one lap where it was absolute chaos. We had Jake Hughes absolutely sending it into Narnia. Christ knows where he went. Bloody hell, it took him about 4 weeks to get back on the track. And then at the same time we were showing what happened to Jake, we then saw a whole host of cars coming into the pit lane after contact at the Turn 1, Turn 2 chicane. So there's about 4 or 5 cars in the pits needing wings. It all kicked off, didn't it? Pascal Wehrlein's front wing coming off and going underneath Sam Bird's ruining his race. There was contact further up the field as well with Da Costa and Mortara. It was all kicking off, wasn't it? What a dramatic end to what has been a very interesting weekend for the championship. So if you've seen this series before, I award the drivers out a maximum of 10 points based on their overall race weekend's performance, and I go all the way down to 0 if they have a particularly bad one. Take a look at bonus points though. They're sometimes not for some drivers to do something extra special during a race, and on the very rare occasion I do award minus points to those drivers who do something extra special, but for all the wrong reasons. Let's take a look at the current Crawl Corner standings then going into this episode. It's on the screen now for you to take a look at. Have a look and see where your favourite driver is. Once again, just to reiterate for those that didn't watch yesterday's episode or aren't up to speed with Formula E and watching this for the first time, Oliver Rowland should be here and should be on the standings, but sadly he has not participated this weekend due to illness, so we do wish Ollie Rowland all the best. His replacement, Caio Collet, is propping up the bottom of the standings there, bless him. He's only here for this weekend, we hope. I mean that in the nicest way possible, because they're hoping for Oliver Rowland to return back fighting fit again for London in just over 2 weeks' time. So yes, that's why he's down there. Oliver Rowland is currently on 101 points, but is uneligible to score points this weekend, of course, because he isn't there. So there's a chance that he will be overtaken by the end of this round. And going into next round, we'll see how it all lies. So without further ado then, let's kick things off with the race winner then, shall we? Well, my goodness me, it's getting like Formula 1, isn't it? Like, oh bloody hell, Max Verstappen, it's Antonio Felix da Costa again, look at this. He's won 3 in a row now. 3 in a row, unbelievable stuff. Gets himself in title contention. He looks like an outsider a little bit, it looks more like it's mathematically possible rather than realistically. But this win has certainly helped his cause and means he goes into London with some sort of chance, which is a lot more than could be said for what you'd have looked at him based at the start of this season, and also what you'd have said after he had the Mazzano win taken off him. Without that, you kind of think, well, he would be second in the standings right now and right up Nick Cassidy's gearbox. But that is all said and done, that's it, isn't it, I'm afraid to say. But this race overall, once again, a great effort. Absolutely fantastic in qualifying, lined himself up in P2 after getting into the finals, of course, just missing out to the pole position with Jev there. That would have been 3 extra points for him, so a little bit off there, unfortunately for him. Those 3 points would have been crucial to making this outside chance more realistic, but, you know, still nothing to take away from him. P2 is a fantastic starting position, and once again, led the race when he needed to, dropped down the field when he needed to conserve energy, and just put in a blinding effort. The only thing that I would like to note in that race is he made contact with Eduardo Mortara in the early lap 7, lap 8 of the race, unfortunately, and made contact with his rear tyre, giving Mortara an instant puncture. It was almost an instant replay of what Mitch Evans received penalties for in yesterday's race. Da Costa didn't get a penalty this race, so that's an unusual one to see, that there's consistency missing within a weekend as opposed to each race weekend where there's different steward scrutinies, etc. So that was an unusual one to take, but Antonio Felix da Costa has had so much bullshit penalties this year and so many bullshit times he's lost out on points that I think that being a little bit more lenient with him now to try and make up for that, who knows. But yeah, unfortunately for Mortara, it was his race over from that point on. But apart from that, Da Costa did nothing wrong. So for Antonio Felix da Costa, it's going to be 9 points on the board to him. 9 points. I'm a little bit cruel there with him, but we have seen better from him. We have seen him where he's managed to win a race without making contact with anyone, and that pole position lap time that he lost out to by just over a tenth of a second, those 3 points would have been crucial for his championship hopes. So yes, 9 points to Da Costa. Second place, we come to Robin Freitz again. Again. Bloody hell, the same top two as yesterday's race. Our top two in today's. Robin Freitz, what a fantastic weekend he has had. Where's this been? Where has this pace and performance been from him? Unbelievable stuff, but here he is netting P2. He got a late move done on Mitch Evans, didn't he, to secure this P2 position after running round in P3 throughout the majority. Once again, a great qualifying effort, a solid effort, gets himself up there when he needs to be. Drops himself down, but never outside the top 10 to conserve energy when he needs to, and then pushes on and goes for it towards the end, getting a late overtake there, as already mentioned, on Mitch Evans to secure P2 quite comfortably with a couple of laps to go. It was solid. It was solid. Well done to Robin Freitz. He's getting a perfect 10 from me. Perfect 10 from Robin Freitz. It has to be. He's done nothing wrong this race. It was perfect. Good qualifying. Good race. And P2 once again. 2 P2s after picking up next to no points for about 6 or 7 rounds. It's crazy, isn't it? Really is crazy. It might even be longer than that. But yeah, there you go. It's turned around his fortune somehow. Where he's off to next season, will this mean he gets retained by Envision? We don't know. But for now, it's a perfect 10 to Robin Freitz. Securing third place, we come to Mitch Evans in the Jaguar after having the win cruelly snatched away from him in yesterday's race as a result of that 5-second time penalty. He was out to make amends, wasn't he? And here he is finishing in P3, so that is a good effort. P3, 15 points on the board. I'm not 100% sure who picked up fastest lap, but I know at one stage Evans did have it, so that might be an extra point to him there, potentially anyway. Cuts the gap down from Nick Cassidy from 24 points down to 12, is it, or something like that? So he's done a really good job there. He is really et into the championship advantage, and if that win would have stood, that meant that he's 12 points behind now. It would have been 13 points ahead. That is crazy, isn't it? That is crazy. So yes, Mitch Evans, a great race this race overall. The only thing I'm going to note, and we've not seen full replay footage of it yet, or any highlights on YouTube as of the time of recording anyway. Once again, you know what Formula E's like. But there was contact there where we said we involved 4 and 5 cars having to pit for front wings and front noses and repair punctures and damage and things, and we don't quite know how it happened. We just know it happened at the Turn 1, Turn 2 complex. Now, Nick Cassidy complained over the radio that he got hit up the arse end by a car, and you don't know who it was. But you look at that replay, there's 2 Jaguars smashing into the back of each other that then turn the chain reaction on. This is just from the one on board footage of a stationary camera of Turn 1, so you already see him go round Turn 1 like that and then going into the Turn 2 complex that's like that. You just see them all bunch up, stack. There's a Jaguar that comes to a halt and then another Jaguar ploughs into the back. We didn't see any contact prior to that, so maybe that was Cassidy hitting Evans, I don't know. But I didn't think Evans was that low down at that time when all that happened, so that's quite interesting. But yeah, there was 2 Jaguars definitely made contact there, and I don't know if it was Evans that hit the back of Cassidy that pushed him into the others, or whether that was Cassidy that came into shot too fast because he'd already been hit his teammate that caused the chain reaction again. So either way, 2 Jaguars did get involved in a little bit of a skirmish there, and Evans was obviously lucky not to pick up any damage that was worth pitting for. So yeah, P3 for Mitch Evans. He's going to get 8 points from me. 8 points. I think it was a good controlled drive. It was a shame he didn't get into the duels in qualifying. That was unfortunate. Without that, maybe we could have seen him ahead of Freitz and potentially battling for the win as well. But yeah, all said and done, that was a good advantage, and well done to Mitch Evans. It's certainly hotting up this title fight going into London. P4, we come to Pascal Wehrlein in the second of the Porsches. What a great weekend for Porsche, picking up crucial points where needed, mainly as a result of Da Costa's efforts, but to close in that gap on the Jaguar squad. Both cars inside the points in both races. That is what is needed. If it be a point, be 2 points, be 3 points, it doesn't matter. At least they're picking them up, and this time around it has been a good weekend for them, picking up 26 points in the first race, and of course here this weekend P4 and a P1, 37 points. Jaguar didn't score that many, did they? For Pascal Wehrlein, there's only one real incident to note, isn't there? That is the front wing damage he sustained by clipping the back of Nick de Vries. That was his own clumsy error. The front wing then dislodged down the back straight before you got into the turn 10, turn 11 complex. It dislodged, it came out from underneath his car, and then it got collected by an innocent Sam Bird, which ruined his race, destroyed the floor of his car, destroyed the front wing of his car, and sent him into the pits and then into a late retirement when they realised that there was nothing worth fighting for at the end there, unfortunately for them. Yeah, Pascal Wehrlein, a lot of people said, oh, he should have pitted. I get that, I totally understand that, but the damage and the actual wing falling off happened on the same lap. He didn't do a complete full lap with the wing off, or with the wing dislodged. It was only half a lap that he was coming round after the contact, went down the back straight, then it fell off. However, I do believe he should have slowed down, let the pack through, and had to pit for a wing. That is... I know that might sound harsh, and it's a championship on the line, and I totally understand that, but that wing was underneath his car. There was smoke coming off the tyre from it. He was losing... You know, it was silly. It was silly to keep going at continuous race speeds in the hope it would dislodge, because when it did dislodge, it cost another car. And that car was Sam Bird. So, unfortunately for Pascal Wehrlein, he didn't receive any punishment from the FIA or the stewards once again. And again, this is because I believe that the FIA and the stewards throughout this season and previous seasons as well have been too harsh with Porsche over penalties that don't really matter. That when we see incidents that do matter and are worth penalising, they're kind of like... Let's back off, they've had their allowance this year for penalties. That's just my personal perception on things, you know. Porsche have signed for Gen 4 now, they want to keep them happy, after what has been controversial decisions made through the years with taking wins off them, taking podiums off them, etc. Not just with Da Costa, but previous years too. So, maybe, just maybe that's me being a little bit cynical, but I think penalties that should have come are for Da Costa for the contact with Mortara, based on what happened with Evans, whether I agree with it or not. And this time around, Pascal Wehrlein driving at full speed with a wing caught underneath his front wheels that detaches and takes out another car. That has to be a penalty. But anyway, that's that, as they say. So for Pascal Wehrlein, he escapes a penalty in real life. He doesn't escape one here. I think his race was worthy of an 8. I'm going to knock 3 points off, and he's getting 5. Middle 5 to Pascal Wehrlein for that, because I think that was very silly. I know it's championship, and 4th place is a great result considering he had no wing, but it shouldn't have happened. 5 to Pascal Wehrlein. Next up, we come to Jean-Eric Vergne securing 5th place after securing pole position and becoming the world record holder within Formula E for the most pole positions in the championship. What a fantastic effort, what a great pole position lap time as well. He was on fire in qualifying, wasn't he? The race itself obviously didn't pan out his way. He was certainly going to be hoping to retain a podium position again, but this is the sort of race pace where he was yesterday, wasn't he? He was in that 5th place area. 5-second time penalty for Mitch Evans, and the spin for Cassidy put him into 3rd. So I don't think this race is anything unduly worrying. I don't think he's underperformed. I just think that this is the pace of the car. A P5 is the best he can get out of it. It's just other factors. Yesterday's race played into his hands to get a podium. This time around, pole position, great effort. That's 3 points on the board, and P5, another 10, is certainly a respectable effort by Jev. It's going to be 8.5 to Jev this weekend for me. I think he did all he could with the car he had, and yeah, couldn't get a podium this time around, but I don't think he was expected to, based on how difficult this weekend for Stellantis has been with the powertrains. Not as efficient, looked to be struggling for raw pace, but he pulled something out the bag in that qualifying, without a doubt. The race pace still looked to be a little lacklustre. 8.5 to Jean-Eric Vergne. In 6th place, repeating his efforts from yesterday's race as well, it is Nico Muller in the Apt. What a great effort, what a great effort. Another 6th place and 8 points on the board for the Apt Cupra squad. That is a fantastic, fantastic effort. I think it wouldn't have been that high up with the based on how the Mahindras were working out and how they were playing. They were certainly up in the mix for points as well, but their luck deserted him. It didn't desert Nico Muller, did it? A fantastic effort. Managed the efficiency as well again. He did really, really well. It's a perfect 10. It has to be a perfect 10 for Nico Muller. I cannot fault a thing with his race weekend. Once again, picking up a couple of points in an app car is respectable. Picking up 2 P6s in a row is more than respectable. That is outstanding. So well done, Nico Muller. Puts them clear now of not just ERT, but also of Mahindra. They're a healthy points margin ahead now. Not to say that if the Mahindra powertrains have sorted and got their act together for London, that gap can't be closed up by Mahindra if Happ have a difficult race. But I do feel that it's a little bit too much to catch now. That's what I would say. It's a little bit too much to catch. Having said that, though, anything is possible in Formula E. We already know that. And Nico Muller has been the main bread earner for that Abt Cupra squad, with Lucas Di Grassi just on 2 points. And Nico Muller has scored the rest. So it's a bit like Formula 1 last year with Albon and Sargent, isn't it? Albon doing all the heavy lifting to get the team into the highest position possible in the Constructors, and his teammate bimbling around, not doing much. Nico Muller, I believe, is 14th or 15th in the driver standings right now, and Lucas Di Grassi is 24th out of 22 regular runners. Oh dear. So yeah, perfect end to Nico Muller anyway. Stunning weekend, and yet another stunning race. Securing 7th place, we come to Norman Nato in the Andretti. We know Andretti's pace has deserted them this season. We know over a single lap pace in qualifying in particular, it has been rough for them. This race was no exception. P20 qualifying for Norman Nato is not good at all, is it, unfortunately? That was P20 on merit as well with no penalties, so something went wrong. But nonetheless, able to carve his way through here to finish P7. Okay, there was problems ahead and you know, that problems all around, but that happens in Formula E, doesn't it? People lose wings, people have contact, people get sent into Narnia, like Jake Hughes did. What a weird one. But yeah, nonetheless, Norman Nato in the Andretti, I think deserves 9 points. 9 points to Norman. I think he's been unlucky at times this season. He's been playing the team game for Dennis when it's mattered. And yeah, he's not had a brilliant season by any stretch of the imagination, but does he deserve to stay at Andretti? I would offer him that seat. I really would. I would think, yeah, let's get you. You're better than Lotter, whatever was, and I don't think there's many drivers on the market or that will be coming available on the market that I would sign over Nato at the moment. I think he's a decent second driver, a decent peddler, and he's picking up points when it counts. So yeah, Norman Nato for me, a great season so far. Well, not a great season, a solid season, I would say that, for a number 2 driver. And it's 9 points to him on the Cruel Corner. Next up, we have Maxi Gunter in the Maserati. Hallelujah, he has scored points again. Yeah, I don't really know what to say for Maxi Gunter this weekend overall. This race in particular, of course, qualifying down at the back in qualifying, while his teammate was up there in P9, just missing out on the duels, but was best of the rest. So P9 for him was a great effort. Maxi Gunter down in 21st, I think it was. But yeah, nonetheless, for Maxi Gunter, I've scored him 7.5. I think coming from that far back and achieving a few points is fair enough. Not sure what happened there in qualifying as to why he was so far off the pace. Maybe trying a different setup. I've no idea. It is just a great shame that the pace and performance that we saw from Maserati at the start of the year has gone begging, isn't it? It must be said, it's just gone vacant. They were looking like outsiders for a championship title fight potentially with Maxi Gunter. I think I said at one point that I think it'll be a good season if he can get mathematically in with a shout come London. That's nowhere near happened, has it? He got to Berlin, scored nothing, and then that run of poor form continued for quite some time. But he's picked up a couple of points anyway. It's 7.5 to him. Let's hope he can end the season off strongly. Let's hope Maserati can end the season off strongly. And yeah, we'll go from there. 7.5 to Maxi Gunter. 9th place, we come to Sebastian Buemi. What a good effort by Buemi, this P9. We was mentioning yesterday how it wasn't his fault because he had to change all the components on the car and he had to start from the back of the grid regardless of where he qualified and then do a drive-through on top of it. There was no safety car, so he couldn't bunch up to the back of the pack. Yesterday's race was irrelevant. Today's race, unfortunately, was pretty much the same, wasn't it? Apart from him able to pick up a couple of points at the end there with that late safety car. The software that they put on the car, fantastic. Yep, that's brilliant. It's all working nicely, lovely stuff. But then, it's a software issue on the car. So he gets a lap time deleted in qualifying for power overuse, which was his fastest lap, which sends him to the back of the grid. He then tries to make his way forward through the grid and gets himself into the lead after being towards the back, I'm not saying he was last, but he was certainly down there with his best lap time deleted for power overuse. And then he gets into the lead, and then he gets a drive-through penalty in the race again for a technical infraction, which we have then since found out was another power overuse. So something clearly wrong in that software, with maybe a component that fitted in for yesterday's race that's gone a little bit wrong, a sensor going a bit dodgy. You know how fragile these Formula E cars can be. So it meant that he got a drive-through penalty again, and was at the back of the pack looking like he was going to pick up nothing at all. And then the late safety car meant he had plenty of percentage left because he was holding back, obviously. He had nothing to fight for, so he had power percentage to be able to get past the cars at the end and secure himself ninth place and a couple of points. Good recovery, that. Good recovery. It's a solid 7 for Buemi for me. I think realistically he could have, without that power overuse in the race, could have been top 5. Top 5, I would say. He was looking like he was on course for that, wasn't he? He was in and around that area anyway, so... Top 5, top 6, but secure a couple of points after what was a difficult race overall is a good effort. Solid 7 to Buemi. Last of the point scorers, we come to the outgoing Formula E champion. It is Jake Dennis. Oh dear, picking up 1 solitary point. I don't know if he's still actually mathematically in with a shout, you know. He might be, but it's not happening. I think it's going to have to be like he takes pole every race, he wins both races, and he gets fastest lap every race, and then everyone else has to not finish. You know, it has to be something crazy like that for him to secure the title, if he's not already out of it. I'm not 100% sure how it lies. I think they've said the top 6 drivers mathematically have a chance. I do believe Jake Dennis is 6th in there, so maybe, just maybe. But either way, he will be the outgoing champion, mark my words, and if I'm wrong, I'm happy to be wrong. But yeah, unfortunately for Jake Dennis this weekend, it's been a bit of a difficult one again, isn't it? Picks up a couple of points here and there in race 1, picks up a point here in race 2. Nothing special though. It's 6, a solid 6 to Jake Dennis for that, and that's as good as it's going to get. Finishing 11th place and outside the points, we come to Stoffel Vandoorne. And there we have it, but it's not just a lotterer, is it? It cannot just be a lotterer because he's already got 3 of them. It's a disqualification. It's a disqualification for Stoffel Vandoorne. The first one to fall by the wayside after coming so close, and he'd had some good races. He wasn't at the back of the pack either. He was a mid-pack in the standings there, but unfortunately his teammates up there in the top 5 getting a pole position lap time. You know, he had a podium yesterday, did his teammate, and you're sort of looking at it and going, Vandoorne, where are you? Okay, pick up a couple of points. This race, he qualified himself P10 or P11, didn't he? And he finished himself here in P11 outside the points. It has to be a disqualification because I do feel earlier on in the season I was being a little bit lenient towards Vandoorne's poor performances. This time around, it can't be. His teammate's P5, picking up 10 points. He's picking up none at all. His teammate's getting a pole position. I don't think he was inside the top 10, or if he was 10th. It's a big difference. It's a big difference. And DS Penske are fighting for every point they can get at the moment because there's a really close battle there between themselves and Nissan, isn't it? And possibly Andretti as well. So yeah, you know, every point is crucial in the constructors, especially when you get to the latter stages. He's not delivered the goods for DS Penske this season for the most part, unfortunately. And that is why it is a 4th lotterer, which means a disqualification, unfortunately, to Stoffel Vandoorne. Securing 12th place, we come to Jehan Daruvala, and a good qualifying P9 there. Good effort, just missing out on the duels, but a good effort. The race itself was running around the fringes of the final points paying positions. I think he's slumped to about 14th at some stage, but again, the drivers go here, there and everywhere. They go wherever they want in the race, don't they, to try and maintain their efficiency, do their own run plan. But here he is crossing the line in P12, which is better than we've seen from him in a few races, but unfortunately wasn't able to pick up any points at all. So what could be said for Jehan's season overall? It's not been great, has it? But he has been the only genuine rookie on the grid. So yeah, Jehan is 6 points from me. I think that's a fair score based on where he was. Qualifying only accounts for so much. The race itself, where points count, sadly didn't get any. But yeah, it's been a difficult year for Jehan. I'm not sure what's going to happen to him next year based on how this season's gone. He has really been thrown in at the deep end, though, I will admit that. It would be nice to see him get another season, but at the same time, I would understand if Maserati said, no, we need to bench you, unfortunately, because we need points, you know, which I understand. I understand from a business point of view, absolutely. But Gian Daravella has been a welcome addition to the championship this year. We've seen some good performances from him, even when it doesn't end up in points at the end of the race. Yeah, unfortunately for him, it's just been a difficult one, hasn't it? So yeah, 6 points to Gian this time around. Solid effort this weekend overall, but again, no points. Finishing in and unlucky for some P13, very unlucky indeed, it is Nick Cassidy. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, got rammed in the turn 1, turn 2 complex. I've already covered that incident when I've mentioned Mitch there. So whatever happened. He had to pit for a nose, got a late safety car to try and bring him back into the fight, but the pack went, and they went without Cassidy. He wasn't able to climb his way through the field like Sebastian Buemi was. So yeah, unfortunately, it's a Miller 05 for Nick Cassidy, sort of treating as a retirement there. It was a disaster, wasn't it, for him in yesterday's race, and he'll be ruining yesterday's race even more now, based on how it's played out this time around. So, yeah, 5 to Cassidy. A difficult weekend, picking up no points whatsoever. He's got to be thankful his title rivals fell into difficulties in that first race as well, because he still goes into London with a 12-point advantage, but that is absolutely nothing when there's, 60 points available, isn't there? There's 25, that's 50. 2 pole positions, that's another 6. And 2 fastest laps, another 2. So 58 points is available. He's only got a 12-point lead. That's come down substantially, hasn't it? It is a Miller 05 to Nick Cassidy. Next up, we come to Sergio Sette Camera in the first of the ERTs, the ERTs. Again, we knew that this was going to be a difficult race for him. I mean, yesterday's race was difficult. This one was even worser because of the efficiency of the powertrain, and due to the fact that, unfortunately for them, it was a lap less, so that meant the pack went faster, sooner, and they didn't have the pace or the efficiency to keep up. For Sergio Sette Camera, it is 6 points to him. Again, I can't really do much about that. It just is what it is, I'm afraid. I hate saying that, but it really was for them. It really just was. It is what it is. They had no match or chance to ever do anything. Even I'm convinced, even if 11 cars fell out of that race, they'd still be in 11th. You know, there'd still be the one car outside the points. It's a mad one to say, but it was just an overall difficult one for them. So 6 to Sette Camera. That's as best as I can give him. And of course, following his teammate home across the line, it is Dan Tinctum. Yeah, the second ERT. Again, nothing I can add that I've not already said about Sette Camera. The only thing I would say about Tinctum this time around was the qualifying wasn't as good. He wasn't able to string a lap together to get himself into the duels at all. But it doesn't really matter, does it? It doesn't matter when your car is so far off the pace that you may as well not. If you're not going to get 3 points for pole and you're not fighting for that, then there's literally no point picking up any points at all. You know, you may as well not line up P5. You may as well be P14 and try and manage some efficiency somehow and try and go from there. So it's 6 points to Dan Tinctum as well. Can't say fairer than that. And another tough weekend for ERT. Going into London now, bottom of the standings after holding on to that P9 for so long when it looked so unlikely that they were going to do it. Unfortunately, it looks like they've fallen just short. London still to come though. We've seen some good performances by Neo in the past year. Will that translate for ERT? I'm not sure, but we'll wait and see. 6 to Dan Tinctum. Next up, we come to Kaya Colette in the first of the Nissans. Again, deputising for Oliver Rowland as he recovers from illness. So again, wishing Ollie Rowland all the best. Look forward to seeing him in London. And yeah, Kaya Colette has had a great race this race. He was involved in the contacts and carnage and chaos at some stage, wasn't he? He had to come in for a pit stop, but here he is finishing ahead of his teammate. Can't say fairer than that, can you? I'm going to give him 7. I'm going to give him 7, and people are going to say that's probably really generous, Josh. And it is generous, I'll totally admit that. But he makes no impact on the title itself for the Cruel Corner Championship, of course. He's only going to be scoring 12 points this season at all, total. So But I do think it has to be noted that this weekend he has outqualified his teammate once and outraced his teammate once. And he's been thrown in at the deep end on the most energy-consuming circuit possible, where the peloton is at its worst. And yeah, he's come to blows this race. He had damage, but I don't think it was his fault. As mentioned, I think it was something to do with either the two Jaguars or someone punting a Jaguar, but you could see that Nissan in the train there that got sandwiched. So that was Kaya Collette, that. It wasn't his fault. So nonetheless, anyway, that's things have all said and done. Kaya Collette has done what he could with the short amount of time he's had. It's 7 points to him. Bravo. And encouraging for him, even though points were never really possible. Then we come to the second of the App Cooperers in Lucas Di Grassi. And there we have it. Unfortunately, Lotterer of the Week to Lucas Di Grassi. He overconsumed in the early stages of that race. So it meant that after the safety car had pulled back in again with the late charge to the line, he didn't have enough power to make it to the line, really. He crawled it over. He crawled it over the line, so he is classified as a finish, but unfortunately tumbled out of what would have been points-paying positions for him. You could see where Muller was. Both App Coopers were up there fighting their self up there, but Lucas Di Grassi just overconsumed. He's only picked up 2 points this season, a total of 2, and I think that has come from 2 tenths as well, hasn't it? It's not even been like a 9th. It's just 2 10th places for him. It's very, very odd to say. I believe I was speaking with Will F1 Gaming, Will F1 Gaming. There you go. I believe I was speaking to him in the comments, and I was like, he's bound to announce his retirement. He's bound to announce his retirement because what more has he got to do? He's a champion of Formula E. You know, he's started the most races. He had the most points until Jev overtook him. He's had a rough couple of years at the back of the grid with Mahindra and now the Apt. But his teammate's making progress now. He isn't. So, yeah, well, it's been interesting to see what happens next year. Maybe it'll come in London, the retirement announcement. I don't know. But yeah, it is a Lotterer of the Week, and that's his third and final one now. So he can't have any silly antics in London. Otherwise, he's out of here as well. But yeah, for the most part, it's just been a tough season overall for Lucas Di Grassi. And last, but by no means least, we come to the final runner in Sasha Fenestraz. And there we have it. Lotterer of the Week to Sasha Fenestraz. And just like Lucas Di Grassi, that's his third one now. So he can't have any more in London, otherwise there'll be a late disqualification to the championship. Sasha Fenestraz this weekend, 2 Lotterers to him. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, I don't really know what I can add to that other than it has been a difficult weekend. Out-qualified by his teammate in one race, out-raced by his teammate in another. Picking up no points for the Nissan squad whatsoever when he was going to be the number one. He had to be the number one driver. He had to be the one that brought it home. And even if it was P8, P9, at least make it something. At least make it something, but he made it absolutely nothing at all. So yeah, Sasha Fenestraz, it'd be interesting to see if he remains within the team into next year. It'd be interesting to see if he remains within Formula E at all. It has been a very, very, very tough second season for Sasha Fenestraz. It's been that difficult second album, hasn't it? He can't quite live up to the expectations that were set on him from last year after he'd already had some good rookie performances. This year it's all just fallen a little bit flat, and it's fallen a little bit flat when his teammate Oliver Rowland steps into the car and does some mighty things with it. So yeah, it's added insult to injury, hasn't it? So yeah, Lotterer of the Week and a final warning to Sasha Fenestraz. Last but by no means least, we come to the bulk of the 4 retirements in this race, and sadly it is the 2 Mahindras of Mortara and Nick De Vries and the 2 McLarens of Sam Bird and Jake Hughes. They're all going to get 5 points each. That is the top and bottom of that. This is why I'm covering them all in one go. We'll briefly explain what happened to them all. So Eduardo Mortara had the left rear puncture caused by Antonio Felix da Costa sticking his nose up the inside of the turn 10, turn 11 complex. He caught his left rear tyre, punctured the tyre, that's it, game over. Had to pit for a rear tyre, and then was a late retirement at the end of the race because there was no point running round wasting energy, wasting performance of the car, you know, tiring the parts out when you've got London to go. It was a great shame. Nick de Vries was involved in the incident that cost Cassidy to pit. Nick de Vries had more substantial damage and retired on the spot after dragging it back to the pit lane, unfortunately for him. Then we come to Sam Bird, as already mentioned. He collected the front wing of Pascal Wehrlein as it flew off down the back straight. He suffered heavy floor damage, had to come in and pit for a wing, but he was miles off the pace, suffering from huge amounts of understeer with the damage sustained, so was a late retirement. And Jake Hughes, we don't really know what happened to Jake, unfortunately, but he clipped his front wing on the back of a Mahindra, I believe it was, at the Turn 1, Turn 2 complex, or was it a Nissan? It could have been a Nissan. Either way, knocks half of his wing off, but that's by the by. We know the front wing doesn't really mean much in Formula E, but that was a minor inconvenience. And then the next thing we saw of him, a few laps later, he was in a field. He was in a field. He was lost, alone. He didn't know where he was. He was trying to turn the car around and then was trying to look and see where the circuit was. He was miles off the track, so I don't know if he had any more contact that pushed him onto the grass. The grass looked really dry, so obviously he just continued straight on. But yeah, unfortunate weekend for both McLaren and Mortara. You know, Jake Hughes had a stunning qualifying once again, and it looked like points were going to be possible. Sam Bird was up there in the duels, looked like points were going to be possible. You had both Mahindras inside the points when their incidents happened. It was a shame for all four drivers there, unfortunately. But yeah, for all those four drivers, it's 5 points each. All of them retired, and none of them were due to their own fault directly, which is a big, big shame. So yeah, sadly, for all those four drivers, pick themselves up, dust the send down, come back in London stronger, and let's finish the season on a high. But for now, it's just 5 points each to all those four drivers. So there we have it then, guys. Those were the runners and riders of the Portland E-Prix round number 2. Let me know in the comment section, as always, did I score any drivers too high, any too low? The updated standings with the scores I have just awarded are on the screen now for you to take a look at. Have a look and see where your favourite driver is now. And yes, 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 this time around we do have a new leader in the Cruel Corner Championship in John-Eric Verne with 107.5 points. He's ahead of Nick Cassidy on 103, and as you can see there, Antonio Felix da Costa on 101 rounds out the top 3. He is now a podium or maybe even a championship contender for the Cruel Corner itself as well. Remember, when Oliver Rowland gets reinstated back in the standings in London, he will be on 101, so we'll slot into 4th place there, just behind da Costa and just ahead of Jake Dennis, as you can see at the bottom of the screen. Unfortunately, Stoffel Van Dorn, the first disqualification of the season. That's unbelievable to say. We got all the way to round 14 before a disqualification, but it had to happen at some point, and it sadly happened for Stoffel Van Dorn. All those there on 3 L's at the side of their name are all on final warning, so they're going to be on the best behaviour with 2 rounds left to go of the championship. Otherwise, they could see themselves as a late disqualification. A massive thanks, as always, goes out to Dan Bartlett, formerly of Mushy Gaming, for providing me with a scoreboard that you see on your screen. Without him, this series would be more pointless than it already is. And who can forget Dave, F1 Games PlayStation, for making me the Lotterer of the Week that you all know and love. It's been a welcome addition to the championship. Thanks so much for doing it for me, Dave. I really appreciate it. So I will see you all in 3 weeks' time, is it? For the London E-Prix doubleheader? It's the end of July, isn't it, I think? Could be, could be. Either way, it's this month at some point. 3 weeks away, I'm going to say, but it might be a little bit less than that. Nonetheless, though, guys, I will see you all then. Take care. And, yeah, it's hotting up in the real life championship. It's hotting up on the Cruel Corner Championship. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. And as always, much love.